that now. Okay, good afternoon. Um, let's begin this webinar. And what we're going to be talking about is applying precognition using ARV, Associative Remote Viewing. This is really part one because we're going to be actually doing a prediction on a baseball game, and we'll do that today before we finish this webinar. And then feedback, which as you will see, and I hope take in deep within yourself, feedback when you know the truth point is a very important part of this whole process, in my opinion, a key part. And so we'll be doing that Monday at noon. Now, some of you are brand new to remote viewing as well as associative remote viewing, but let's first talk a little bit about remote viewing itself. It goes back, and it's a word which was invented by the people working for the government. You know, they would never gotten very far if they were to say we're involved in psychic phenomenon. So they actually invented the word remote viewing. But what this is using the powers of your mind, mental faculty, so that what is called a viewer, more accurately it should be a sensor, can describe, you're using all of your senses, not just your visual senses. A lot of people will get sounds and smells and feel things. To get information about a target that is inaccessible in any normal way that you could imagine, but this target is available to you independent of how far away it is and independent of time, past, present, or future. And they found, using every kind of conceivable shielding from electromagnetic radiation, that it cannot be shielded. So this ability is very, very deep, very unusual. It's frankly been around forever. Stories go back to, prophets in the Bible. The Greek had them, this is not like it's new. It wasn't invented by the CIA, but we in fact were using it. Now, a viewer might be asked to describe a location on the other side of the world, which he or she has never visited, or a viewer might describe an event that happened long ago or in the future. So guess where our focus is going to be? In the future. Now, during the days of the Cold War, our government, the CIA, your tax monies, and most other countries were involved in programs where they were applying this. And here's just one quote from the back of this book, which I recommend if you're interested in sort of getting the deep history of all this. I never like to get into deep debates with the skeptics, because if you didn't believe that remote viewing was real, you hadn't done your homework. And yet, most of science will, in fact, deny the reality of precognition. I just want to show you a few examples of what was done first with remote viewing, and then we'll just show a few that were done with people just like yourselves in precognition. So this is from a paper after much of, but not all, of the work that was done was declassified. Hal Puthoff, who was the head of the program at Stanford Research Institute for many years, put out this paper, CIA-initiated remote viewing, at Stanford Research Institute. This is one of the examples from that paper of a transcript that was done totally blind. The viewer was then afterwards taken out to the site, but it was, you know, double blind. The place was chosen randomly, and with that transcript, this was the target, what we refer to as a target. So this viewer, you can see, did really a good job of capturing the loops and stuff, but it's certainly not perfect. It's not what you would draw if you were at the site and asked to sketch it, but it's certainly quite good. And this is the level of a excellent kind of match. Now you can see the things in here. He saw lightning rods. Somehow his subconscious mind maybe saw all these things, knew they were rods, the idea of rods, and somehow lightning rod came into his consciousness, and he put it down on the paper, and that's just what you're supposed to do. And that's what you all are going to be doing shortly. Now here is one from Joe McMonagle, who is, of course, an excellent viewer. If you know anything about remote viewing, you know he was in the program, I think longer than anybody else, from the beginning to the end. He, in fact, is going to be doing training with me. He'll be actually the primary trainer in New Orleans in June when we have our yearly conference and workshop. But you know, you almost don't have to say too much to see the match here. Again, done blind. He even says things like moving electricity got into his mind. Power poles, just remarkable. Halo, probably not visible because of the motion. Again, not exactly right, but you can certainly tell he was getting information from this site as opposed to all possible. Now, at SRI, the first time they did precognition was actually kind of an accident, and I want to tell you that story. Hal Pudoff, who was the head of the program, his division chief was named Bart Cox. Now, they were in this crazy field. SRI has a very good reputation. Bart Cox really didn't want to do this until he personally felt there wasn't any experimental scientific flaw of that sort. So he said, I'm not going to let you guys choose a site. I want to go out and I am going to choose a site randomly. So the remote viewer, which happened to be a guy named Pat Price, worked with Russ Targ. Hal and Russ were the two key investigators at SRI during this. And Pat Price and Russ were in a room, and they were told that, say at noon, Pat should start his session. Well, okay, so first of all, Bart gets in the car with Hal, and he makes decisions about going left and right based on cars in front of him being odd and even. They tell this great story about how random it was. Bart didn't even know where he was going to end off. It turns out when they got close to a place he knew, he said, let's go to the marina. Okay, so that was chosen completely random by Bart on his own, independent of all of this. Pat now, it's like 11:30, and Pat says, I'm already getting these images. I know where he's going to be. I want to do it now. Before Bart arrived at the marina, probably even knew he was going to go to the marina. Russ Targ, being a good monitor, says, okay, let's do our transcript. So Pat actually generated the transcript before Bart got at the marina. And in those days, they were verbally and then recording what he said. And Pat's first words were, and this is now totally precognitively, I'm looking at a little boat dock along the bay. It's in a direction about like that. Yeah, I see the little boats, some motor launches, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he nailed it. They say this is one of the best matches, that they've seen. It's up there with the best. And then Pat went and saw this, And so they took them out there, and that's important to get. Notice he got feedback when he went to the marina. And I believe, and there's really good evidence for this, that it's his feedback session that connected up with his remote viewing session. Now, many scientists have looked at this, and precognition, in which the answer is known to no one until a future time, appears to work quite well. Now, this was said by Jessica Utz, who's a statistician, and she published this in a peer-reviewed paper. It turns out that it's clear, and with all the experience all of us have been working in this field, precognition does work quite well, quite often, but not all the time. And that of course, is the challenge. There's a very nice cartoon. I'm only showing one piece here. Just because you guessed 100 coin flips in a row doesn't mean you're psychic. Coincidences do happen. Okay, skeptics, of course, have all kinds of reasons they don't believe it. But the fact of the matter is, I believe precognition occurs all the time, but at the subconscious level. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So I think your subconscious has access to this information, and that's what we're going to learn how to use. We don't understand it. Science, the ones that are interested in this have tried to do all kinds of experiments. We just simply don't understand it. But in fact, the whole issue comes down to communication between the conscious mind, what you're very conscious of, what you can write down on a piece of paper, talk about, versus what's going on in what I'd like to call the submerged consciousness. There's stuff that goes on in the subconscious mind, as you all know. Now, how is this possible? We don't know. I like the expression, the world of consciousness is not flat. The way we see our own limits are just not there. We can do a lot more. We're not limited by the flatness of our 5 normal senses. Information can be gathered in other ways. I like the 2-brain analogy. It's not perfect, but the left brain, the intellectual one, it doesn't understand what we're talking about. Gathered in other ways? Come on, what are you talking about? And this old right brain, the intuitive brain, yeah, of course, I know that. It gets it. And this 2-brain division is, in fact, rather real, and there are significant differences on the 2 sides, but there are, of course, connections. In fact, this little cute sketch shows that. But there is something about these 2 sides which permit, from a pure precognitive now transcript, very much like you guys are going to do. This was a transcript. The only cueing the person had was describe, sketch, your, and they were given a 6-digit number, feedback, target. They were told and actually given guidance, as I'll give you, to quiet their left brain, get into a quiet state, and then whatever they get, when they feel they're ready, write the coordinate and put down what you get. Whatever your subconscious gives you, just put it down. So this is what one person did with this target. This target was not even chosen until after this transcript was generated. And this was all done with the online program similar to what we're going to be doing here. So if you look at this, I think you'll agree that this is pretty darn good. The 2 sides, rather clear. Channel flow. This, which I'm sure the person didn't have a slightest idea what it was, does look an awful lot like the spikes here, okay? And this is a kind of a valley. Well, it turns out in this case, we had many people going after the same target. Well, I'm going to show you other people's versions, but here again, just to emphasize, the idea here is to quiet down the chatter of the intellectual, the left brain, the thinking brain, and just listen to the right brain, listen to the intuition, listen to what your subconscious gives you. And the basic protocol is simply to do a remote viewing session like that, then there's analysis, and then there's the feedback session. We're going to be doing all that, so I'm not going to dwell on this at all. The idea here is to get the information from the feedback session. We do judging, and you're going to see that, to make a prediction about a sporting event. We're actually going to be doing a baseball event. And the idea here, which all of us who have been working this for so long kind of summarize this by saying it comes down to intention, attention, and expectation. Your intention is, in fact, to gather the information from the feedback session. And as I'm going to talk about shortly, feel really good about that. Make a really good entanglement. And all the time you're paying attention to your own consciousness, whatever comes up to your consciousness. And during the whole process, you have this positive kind of expectation. They have a whole paper on this. Here's the link, but it's actually it makes sense. If you want to keep a focused intention, you want to have a lot of good attention to your consciousness and positive expectations. So with this kind of background and those kind of positive intentions, here's another transcript that someone did on this same target. And one of the things here is they said dark-skinned man. Again, you can see it's not exact. Things get mixed up in white, but pretty close. It's the kind of the ideas are right. In this case, and I'm saying this because this is one of the things you learn. AOL stands for analytical overlay. What that means is this person felt that because of the other things in his transcript, it was his analytical left brain that jumped in to say all this. So he put AOL down so that the analyst would know that, and also sort of training themselves to understand the difference between information from the left brain and the right brain. So that's what AOL stands for. And this person took an AOL break and then came back, and this is what put on this page. High tent, one of the hot, black, but what I want to point out here, got black shoes. All of these are AOLs. So this was what was coming in, he thought, from his or her left brain. But I emphasize here, sound of fabric flapping in the wind. How a person would get that, which seems so obvious here, would be from the feedback session. I mean, to actually pick up that you could get the sounds is something that you all have to take in, because the subconscious wants to communicate to you, and it communicates to you through all of your senses. So that was the point I wanted to make here. Here's another viewer. Notice the viewers are all responding differently. Each of us has a unique subconscious. Here we're getting helicopter. We're getting kind of a swirl, picking up a vehicle. That was what this person's subconscious, however it translates from the feedback session to here, they got vehicle. That's fine. I can see that correlation. I think you can too. When you're analyzing this, you'd say, yeah, I would say that person, I can see where that would happen. I give some credit for that. Spiraling downward, concave from above. Okay, this is the last one of this series I'm going to show you. But again, just to give you the idea of how each viewers get different things. Here, you can see the effect of the sound again with the drums. Look at the spikes. These spikes come out like this. This is what this person was, obviously a visual type of person. That was the way it came into her. She put it down on a piece of paper. Now, I also want to point out here, because we're going to have you do the same thing, we always start out putting the name and the date on top, usually above a line of some sort. And then you put the coordinate up here. So this is to get you started. And then after you get quiet and you do what we call a cool down, to quiet down the chatter, and then you get your information. We put all that down here. And the AOLs usually go on the right, and this means when you're done, end of session. Okay, and you don't have to remember all this. Really, all you're going to have to do is put on a piece of paper what you get when we start doing the remote viewing, and I'll take you through that. So here's your training. I really believe it is this simple. You quiet the left brain, you listen to the right brain, and then you report. And you don't judge, you don't come to any conclusions about what the site is. You just put down what it is that your subconscious gives you. Now, the key issue here is communicating the correct information from what's essentially an infinite pool of information. I mean, we have now seen the subconscious can get information from any place, can get it from any time. It's a semi-infinite pool of information. So how do you do this communication between your subconscious and your conscious mind? Now, we don't have an exact answer to that, of course, and I'm going to give you a model which I think is pretty good. And in fact, the model is the first time I've presented it in this fashion. But I think what you have to remember is that roughly people have said the conscious mind is like 10%, and I don't know how they come up with these numbers, but the submerged conscious, the subconscious mind, they typically would say is like 90%, right? Like a iceberg. Only 10% is above the water, the rest is submerged. If you're talking about availability of information, I mean, hell, if we just look at the past and your own experiences, look at all the information you've acquired that's buried somewhere in your subconscious. I'm pretty clear that that number isn't even close to 10%. 1%, 0.1, 0.01. I think the subconscious is where the information is. Now, how do you get to share that information? Okay, hug me. Here's the old conscious mind, and here's the subconscious mind, and they do share, but how do you get them to share more, and how do you get more accuracy? That's always our issue. So I now want to talk about a model which is called centropy, which is related to entropy. Entropy is a pretty heavy, well-known concept in standard physics. Thermodynamics has to do with heat exchange. Things go from a more orderly state to a more random state naturally. The old image that they give is of a glass on a table. When it falls, it's going to break and become very disordered. And this leads to the arrow of time. You always know which way time is going, you think. And in the physical world, in fact, entropy is what indeed happens. But these two authors, Italian authors, came up with what is another interpretation of quantum mechanics that they've labeled it syntropy, this idea that not only does information go forward in time, but it goes backwards in time. And that's what precognition is. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, but in terms of information going backwards, the information already actually being out there, all these kinds of ideas, but they've now connected it to quantum mechanics and to kind of long-term goals. Let me go a little further here. This is a book they wrote, which I highly recommend. And from that book, this is their basic model, that if you have any effect right now, so you're here right now listening to me, your consciousness is right here. Well, it's a function of past causes. I mean, you had to get my email, you had to decide to organize your day, so you were here, okay? And that's the normal way we think of things. It's an arrow of time, with time going from the left to the right. Okay, so that's typical kind of causes, and here you are now. That's the effect. But what they're saying is that we have in the future something which is called an attractor, okay, which will share information and which was also involved in getting this effect here. I mean, that very idea is one which you sort of have to take in, but actually, intellectually, it actually makes sense after a while, especially as a physicist who knows that all the physical equations that we use, the fundamental physical equations, actually work forward in time and backwards in time, even quantum mechanics. And this is one of the reasons some scientists have been forced to take on this kind of approach, that information can travel from the future to the present moment and combine with causes from the past to lead to where we are. It's this combination of effects that's called super causality. Now, these attractors are very important, and I want to connect this up now with associative remote viewing. In associative remote viewing, you're going to be giving a task. You're going to get one shortly. That you can think of as beginning the cause and effect train. The tasking goes out to the remote viewers. There's a bunch of things which happen. They might get an email. Then they sit down and they do their remote viewing session. Well, that's an effect. And what is the rather obvious attractor connecting these two at this time, which is feeding information back to the RV session? It's the feedback session. So this model of syntropy, and it's the syntropy that is the backward flowing information, just like entropy is the forward, again, in linear time. But notice the symmetry. If I was a critter going backwards in time, I would go here and this would look like my attractor to me. But we are physical beings. And so this indeed is our attractor, and it is an event which is going to occur, and it's an event which you have the ability to create. So you're certainly creating your RV session, and you're also the creator of your feedback session. And it's the entanglement of these two that give us precognition. So I'm blowing up this idea of attractors because when you're in your RV session, that's your mindset that I am, you're a receiver, but you're a receiver of information from your feedback session. This is what ARV is all about. Doing a session, getting information from your feedback session. Okay, so during a feedback session, it's you and your feedback session are the attractors. You think I've emphasized that enough? I hope I have, because intention, attention, and expectation, I hope I'm setting your intention at the intellectual level now to intend, because we're getting very close to doing our sessions, to intend to connect up with your feedback session. Now, one other thing which was rather, I thought, significant in this book that they emphasize is that the attractor which they focus on is love. They're basically saying, and you can see there's no mathematical equation for this. This is why I call this an interpretation of quantum mechanics. They are saying that when we live our lives long term, our attractor is to go towards a place where there's lots of love, more love. There were philosophers that talk about alpha point, omega point. They would say the omega point is pure love. It's in that context they're talking long term, but it's clear that the exact same idea works in terms of shorter terms, in terms of feedback session. And so I believe that it's important, and I'd like you to intend with your feedback session to not only get the direct information from the target, okay, and share and give examples of that, but also to know and get a feeling of, I like to call it love and wisdom, beauty and joy. I mean, the whole mystery of what you're doing, the fact that you're a conscious being, the whole journey is something which you should just feel good about. Um, and at the feedback session, you'll know what the truth point is. You'll have your remote viewing session to do comparisons, just like we did. And the whole process is wonderful. And so I think a connector for you to get to the target is to also get this feeling of love and, my God, what's going on here? My subconscious is pretty amazing that it got the matches that it did get. And isn't this a beautiful process and a lot of fun? I think that needs to be part of this, because my interest, and I hope your interest, is to do this for the long term. Um, One session is a lot of fun, hopefully, but you really want to do this over and over again to get the feeling of precognition, and we want to get it so you can integrate it in your life. A mindset, which is just beautiful, and it just shows you how these ideas go back a ways. It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards, the Queen remarked. And of course, that comes from Alice in Wonderland. And the subconscious gets that totally. Okay, let's get ready to do it. What do you think? Do you want to do some ARVing and start with our remote viewing? Do I hear any yeses?
Yes.
Okay. And
I'll say yes.
are there any questions or anything up to here? Because I'm now about to take you through this.
Does this stuff really work, Marty, or is it just some sort of fantasy?
Dave, I recognize your voice. I know.
Yeah. How
You
you
know,
doing?
that amazement, which is part of, I think, what is valuable to get at feedback time, um, is wonderful. And I think no matter how long we do this, there's going to be a certain level of amazement with the whole process. And I think that's terrific. So, yeah, this really works, but not all the time. And that's also where a lot of personal growth, I think, separate from the precognition comes, because you need to understand and learn from the fact that you're not yet perfect, you know? Um, okay, so um, I hope you all, oh, I should have asked you all, but I imagine you all can find a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. Um, I would like to limit our transcripts today to 1 or 2 pages. I'm going to give you 7 minutes to do a transcript, but you want to do one on a piece of paper. So go get some paper and pencil. And okay, and then on find your name here. Now notice what we've done is split this group into 2 groups, did it rather randomly, um, and find your name on here. And if your name isn't here, um, like Dave's, yours isn't here. Let me put you on here. Um,
Can we have a little bit more than 7 minutes?
um, yeah, I'll call it formally less than 7 minutes, but you can keep going and that won't hurt anything.
Doesn't seem
But
like
I'm
a
going
lot
to
of
start.
time in
Well,
this bathroom
it'll
break.
be 7 minutes of quiet. That's well. Let me tell you this. I would say more than half the people will find 7 minutes is too long.
Enough time. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
everybody, I've done stuff like this before. Um, okay, wait. Let me just find where I am here. I lost us. Here we Okay. Okay. So Dave, give me your email. Let me just put it in here.
d.silverstein.1@gmail.com.
Steen.1
Right?
at Gmail.
That's amazing.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put you here. Is there anybody else who doesn't see their name here at all? Okay, so we're a working group. You're all feeling comfortable. Um, does so you have a piece of paper. At the top of your piece of paper, you've put your coordinate, either this one or this one. Fair? Okay. Assuming the answer to that is yes. Now, um, here's what we're about to do. Um, in fact, you know what? I put that a little bit out of order. I want to do this first. Um, I love this. This is a real workshop, including uh, my part of it. Now, where your coordinates came from is from an online program um, where an email would normally be sent out to um, multiple viewers, which would say something just like this. Hello, webinar workshop members. Now that's you. Your transcript is due by 1:30, so we want to have all of our transcripts done by 1:30. I'd like to even get the judging done by then. Here's the event. It's going to be an over-under Major League Basketball game. Anybody who has been doing this with us, and I'll explain it to you now, understand that over-under in a baseball game is simply the sum of the total runs scored by each team at the end of the game. So if it's a 4-3 game, the total runs are 7. Well, the odds makers will choose what they think is a number, and they'll let you go either over that and wager or under that and wager. And they're pretty good at that. So they'll find the point that's roughly 50-50. Okay, so that's called the line. We're going to choose the first game on Saturday, tomorrow, for our prediction. Okay, so I'll be that vague, and we'll actually find that game online and do it. But our prediction is simply over versus under. Okay, they would then click here, and what they then got, and notice whose name is here. It's mine. All of you are going to be feeding me for one prediction, and I am going to make that prediction, and you'll see how I do that online. So the two coordinates are right here with two Q's. And most of the people using this online approach, which is called winning entanglements, do 2 independent ARV sessions. We've now split it up, so each of you are doing 1, but they do 2. But they're totally independent. Now, and then they upload the transcript, so it's part of the record. And then we'll go into the judging, which we won't do now. Now, the terminology we use, and you'll see this later, is this is the first Q, this is the first coordinate, this is the second coordinate. Side 1 is associated with the first coordinate, side 2 is associated with the second coordinate, and the sides are over and under in this case. But we don't know which is associated here with over or under yet. And that should become clear in a minute. But this is just our terminology, which you do not need to remember. Now, what is an important part of this? What we've been doing up to now has really been intellectual. This has all been left brain stuff. Okay, so this is left brain stuff. Who's talking? I can just.
Hey Marty, really quick.
Yeah.
Somebody in the background, they got their TV on and it's drowning you out.
Yeah,
You mind, whoever that is, you mind putting your phone on mute?
Right. Can we see who that? Do we know who that is? Because I can put him on mute.
I can't hear you.
Who is it? Do you know?
Okay, it's going now.
Okay.
All right, here's Marty.
Okay. Yeah, if we can identify that person, I can even mute them. I'm seeing a chat here. Okay, Steve. Now, we've been talking intellectual. Precognition is all about turning that off, dialing that down to as close to 0 as you can get it, and become a listener, and then to record what you see, what you hear, what your subconscious is giving you in your mind's eye, all of that. And so the process, which is considered quite important by most of us, is called cool down. And I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'm going to set you up, and then we're going to do the cool down. So we've set your intention, and do it now a little bit. Begin to just, I'm moving my arms. Move your arms a little bit. You want to sort of get away from the intellectual stuff we've been doing and maybe get into your body a little bit. You want to come to right now. There are sounds around. There's my voice, and I will go quiet soon, trust me. And you want to set them aside. Just, that concept. Just they're not important. Set those aside. Um, and then you're going to start focusing on your breathing. You can even do a little bit of that now. You're getting ready here. So you can focus on your breathing. And this air that comes in gets into your bloodstream and it mixes with virtually every cell in your body. And it's these cells that sort of collectively are how your subconscious communicates with you. These include your nervous system cells, which then communicate up to your conscious mind. So the breathing is very important. We'll do in and out breathing. And then you begin to focus on this inner world. And this is all done sort of by your intention. You know how to do that. You just look inward. It's like a meditation. Some of you are probably meditators. So it's getting quiet like that. And then I'm going to count backwards. And then I'll simply say, describe, sketch your feedback target. And then I'll go quiet for 7 minutes. And during that time, on a piece of paper, you should have your coordinate now on top. Put your name and the date and time up here. This is just standard, so it's just a good procedure. A lot of people like to save this. If you ever want to become part of We, you would upload it, so this identifies you. And your subconscious is going to give you simple kinds of things first, gestalts. One of the things, no matter what a target is, that you can always get are shapes. Very often you'll see rough pieces of things, and whatever shapes you see, just put them down. But your sense of sound is working. You might even feel textures. You can get a sense of like action. All the things that your normal nervous system can pick up is available for your subconscious to use. So just simply be open to that. Okay. So let's do it. Let's get yourself quiet. You might want to close your eyes. You're setting your intention. Come to this very present moment right now. Become aware of any sounds. Become aware of your body, your sitting, your hands. But you know what? You can set those aside. Let's take a few breaths. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Get this sense of the air. Get the sense of this air energizing every cell in your body. The oxygen combining with the lifeblood, connecting with your full nervous system. Breathe in, breathe out. Begin focusing on this inner world. Your subconscious. with the intention to connect with your feedback target. The information will come through your nervous system from your subconscious. Breathe in. Breathe out. Four, three, two, describe, sketch your feedback target. Okay, you've got a minute left. Maybe go down to your sub and get just a little more information. Okay. Write end of session or EOS on the bottom of the page, and that'll end your ARV session, the remote viewing part of the ARV session. Let me unmute you all. And Dave, if you're continuing or any of you are continuing, that's fine. Well, what I'd like now is any feedback. How did it feel? Did you feel 7 minutes was too long or too short?
Okay, Marty, I didn't start because I kind of got confused on what my coordinates were because I had to go to the other room and I came back and coordinates were not on the page. So
Okay. Okay.
we're
Okay.
using,
So
we're using coordinates,
you
right?
won't. What's that? You won't.
We're using coordinates, right?
Yeah, and I
Or no?
put yours on the sheet, but that's fine, Dave.
Where is the sheet?
It was
I mean, I did see it earlier, but I didn't write it down.
okay. Fine. Okay, so that's okay. How about the rest of you? Anne, I just see you at the top of my attendees list. How did it go for you?
So can I get the coordinates or no?
You want to do it now?
I can do
Do
it,
a
yeah.
fast one. Okay. If you get to it before I show the targets, you won't be front loaded. There you are.
All right, well,
There you are.
oh, here it is. All right, hold on, let me write it down. 470.
Okay. Good. Good. Go do it. You've time until we get to judging completely. And you can't talk or chat. How about Daniela? Daniela. How did it go for you?
Hello.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This was my first time, so I can't really speak from a lot of experience. It was interesting, but I'm curious to see the results.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations, being your first
Thank
time.
you.
And what sometimes even amazes people is that you get stuff, right?
I think in my case I got a lot of stuff, so it was hard to figure out what I should focus on and try to explore more because there were a lot of different things coming at me.
That's beautiful, and that's just how it's supposed to be. And what you did was you had communications with your subconscious clearly. And you set your intention, and shortly we'll see we'll see how we did. We're about to get into what's called analysis and judging, where you'll get a sense of how well you did. So we'll do that in a minute. How about somebody else? Gary, how did it go for you?
I got something was the 7 minutes, obviously the distance you gave them knowledge.
God,
But that's okay. Take that too much.
okay, wait. Hold on 1 second. I see it's Ron that was making the noise. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I thought it was 7 minutes. Might have been too short. I can read it.
Um,
We got some images. I can't talk too much because I don't have a computer. I'm sitting on the computer.
yeah. Okay, but you got something on your paper that you'll be able to use in terms of judging.
Yes, yes, no.
Okay, and you know, anybody else, especially a newbie, you got information from your subconscious, right? Did anybody have difficulty?
Hi, Marty. It's Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, this is my first time. I'm advanced CRV, training and practicing, and thank you very much. A lot of fun. I got some great perceptions. They flowed really well, and I used some move commands during it
Good,
as well.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and that's a good point. I'm glad you brought up that you were trained. You know, there's lots of different places you can learn remote viewing in a more formal sense, in the way they did it, say, in the military, where they were trying to get really detailed information. And that, of course, can be applied here. And a lot of people were doing that, though often they might apply it in a shorter version, like obviously you did. You got done in 7 minutes. Most CRV sessions would take longer than that. Though we do have people who are actually just like to do the full sessions. So good. Thank you for that, Bob.
Thank you.
Anybody else have comments or anything they want to?
Well, my name is Patricia, and it's also my first time. So I guess what helped me a lot was the breathing part, because I kind of calmed myself down and didn't get so nervous. Since it's the first time, sometimes you're afraid to get everything wrong, and so that helped me a lot. And I hope that what I got will be something interesting.
Okay, wonderful, and congratulations on your first session. And we will see. But did you enjoy it?
Thanks. Thanks.
You enjoyed it. Okay, good. Um, good. And the cool down for everybody is important. So I'm glad it helped you this time too.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to comment or share? Okay. Now, the next step in ARVing is the analysis judging. And at least for me, I find the best way to explain it is sort of by saying what it is not. And here is what it is not. We have Ken the skeptic who said, I alone know the contents of this envelope. So he's asking the remote viewer to target what's inside the envelope. And that's a pretty standard thing. In fact, we use that in ARV lots of times at workshops. Okay, so that's a reasonable thing. Here our remote viewer says it's a charcoal drawing of a woodchuck eating a small orange. Okay, that's a little bit more left brain than we might usually like, but okay, it's a cartoon. You get the idea. He got pretty specific there. Our skeptic says, now the skeptic is now the judge, right? He's playing the role of the judge, and he says, nice try, you little fraud, but that's a long way from an ink drawing of a beaver eating a tangerine. Okay, you get the point? You don't want to be too hard on yourself, and you don't want to be too easy on yourself. And it's finding this place where you say, you know what, that wasn't chance. The examples I gave you showed you how good it can be, but even they were not right on. I mean, there was no helicopter in that one where the guy was jumping down the ravine. it was an example that came to mind. And yet you can kind of see how the subconscious might have gotten those connected. And when you do judging, you need to sort of take that kind of stuff into account. Now, the next thing that would happen to me as a viewer, so to each of you as a viewer, is the remember the email that went on that gave you your coordinates? Let me see if this, hopefully it will work. PowerPoint is pretty good. This is that link live. And what we're about to do is to go to that page, which not only had the coordinates on it, but it had a place to upload transcripts, again, for the people who were using this, and we have quite a few. But what I want to tell you now, because I think it'll help you understand the process, is something which is usually blind to the viewers at this point, which is that the first coordinate, which was the 470670 coordinate, was associated with side 1, coordinate 1, but the computer randomly associated that with under. So side 1 in this particular case is going to be under whatever the line is for the baseball game. That'll be that prediction. Coordinate 2 is over. So these associations were made by the computer randomly early on when it chose the coordinates. It associated randomly the under and over. So I'm letting you know that, and in a moment you'll see why. So I clicked the link just like a typical viewer would do. Remember, all of this is online. I did this under my name, so I have to put my name back in here. So each of the viewers would simply put in their name. I think you see this is intended to be, and in fact is rather user-friendly. We have multiple groups. I set this up in the webinar workshop group. Hey, that's what we are. Okay. And lo and behold, this was the page which I just copied, which has the 2 coordinates on it. And now, if it was just me and I had done 2 sessions, I would upload the coordinate for the server as part of the record. There are multiple people. We have a manager who might be managing 5 or 6 people. He might want to look at it. What I'm going to do now is put in a fake transcript because it won't let me go any further until I do that. Notice it's all guarantees. It's purely precognitive and all of that. So all I did is put in fake transcripts here, but each of you have your own, and you're now going to act as judge. Now, when I hit the submit button, what is going to come up is what is called the winning side photo site. So each of you now has your transcript, and this is the what will be called the winning side photo site. We usually just call it WS. What I would like you to do now is begin looking at your transcript and this, and I'm going to show you the ideas of how you start judging this, but then we're going to simplify it just because of the environment we're in. Okay, I just clicked on the targ scale. It's not coming up. I wonder if I probably have too much going on in my system. Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. So this is online in my PowerPoint presentation. I have it here. Okay, so as part of doing the judging, the viewers will assign a number to how good their transcript is to that picture. Now you should know you each have two different coordinates. You each have, I mean, you know, half of you have this one, half of you have that one. Um, you're going to shortly see a second photo site. So whether you match or don't match this one may very well be irrelevant because you may get a terrific match on the other. And so you're wearing kind of a judge's hat, which is unbiased as you can be according to this scoring system, which was done by Russell Targ at SRI and a few others. And if you see no match, in the sense that we said, you know, give yourself a little space for seeing, oh yeah, I see a little connection there, but maybe there's nothing on your page, no match at all, then you'd give it a 0. Little correspondence would be 1. Some correct elements, you know, you might get a color right, but nothing else. You might get, you know, just a little, you'll get the sense of what chance is. This would be kind of just by chance, you might expect to get something right, but nothing reasonably significant or not enough elements, you know, 1 out of 10 elements that you got and put on your page. Now you get to 3. Here we're saying, you know what? I've got a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct ones to indicate that I'm just made contact with the target. You know what? They're definitely, well, there was some psychic information. I feel pretty comfortable that I made some, but a 4 says good correspondence. Now I'm sure. This was a mix, but now I've got some really good matches. You know, lot half or more, say, of my elements match. There's something that matches really well. I feel really comfortable that I made a psychic match. That would be a 4. Okay, my precognition was working. I contacted the target. It, in fact, came back and gave me information from the future. Since I don't know what the target is now, we're just judging. But we're going to see the target Monday. 5 says I had really good correspondence. And there's some unambiguous, unique matchable elements. So you can see we're climbing up the chain of good matches. And then 6 is, my God, I even got some analytical stuff. My left brain was right on. And then 7 is you essentially had no incorrect information. We consider 3.5 to be wagerable, where you feel, you know, we used to not, way back, not let people go in between. But over and over, we had people say, is this a 3? Is this a 4? You know, I feel it was psychic, but I don't know if it was really, really good. And we let people now do a 3.5. And that means to be willing to put a few bucks on it if you were the wagering type. But there's just a level of certainty that you did make contact with the target. If you're up at a 5, now, of course, you feel really, really comfortable and you can point to something where you say this was really unambiguous and a real good matchable element or elements. Okay, so go back now, having given you that summary. And again, the real interest in precognition is with people who do it over and over again, because you really want to not only improve it, but you want to learn about your own subconscious. How do you communicate with, you know, your subconscious, 90% of you? So each of you take your transcript, you only have one, and take a look at this. And give it a 0 to 7, where 3.5 would be considered wagerable. Now, we've had people do this, and you should know that different judges will give different rankings with a difference of about 1 sometimes. That's not that unusual. So there's not like one correct answer. But what I'd like you to do is on your piece of paper, write WS and then CR equals whatever number you believe is appropriate. Are you seeing this big enough? I can make it bigger. But I do want each of you to do it. You need to make the judgment. It's actually a kind of a learning experience because the whole loop of when you see what actually happens with feedback helps make you a better precogger and a better judge. And ultimately, notice we're doing here, each of you are doing self-judging. We happen to be a believer in self-judging. So any questions on this? Okay, so this is one side. In the ideal world, half of you will get really good matches to this. And then, okay, so have you each put down on your paper a CR? I guess. Should I take that as a yes? Do you need,
Marty, can you hear me?
do you need more time?
Marty, somebody has a question. I don't know if you're hearing them.
I didn't hear it. Yeah. What was the question?
Yeah, Marty, the photograph of the Taj Mahal, is that the actual one of the actual targets we were viewing?
One of you will get this back as a target. Notice this is the winning side. I'm really glad you asked that. Notice I've already told you that one coordinate, 470670, is for under. If the outcome of the baseball game is under, on Monday, that coordinate will have this as its target. On the other hand, if the game is actually the outcome is over, then those with 698,406, where it was associated with over, they will see this as their target. So you move your consciousness to the feedback session, and you will get this as your target only if that is the winning side. Okay? What we're about to do now is look at the other side. We don't know what that is, but half of you will be on the other side because, you know, if the score was 0-1, then the actual winning side outcome will be under. If the score were 20-10, then that would be over what the linesman chose. You know, that's a rather unusual game. Then over would win, and then the over people will see this. But then the under people would see, you know, in that example, what is called the other photo site. They're both equally valid. They're both as important. And that's why half of you will get back as your target this one. And now let's do the other photo site. Oh, don't do this to me. I couldn't get, it looks like I might be having internet problems. Okay, this is the link. Let me see if I can get it on Google Chrome. Sorry about that. This is a technical problem. Where's my Chrome? as you can see, this is real live internet stuff, and the program works fine. It's my computer that's now having, okay, good. This is what's called the OS, and each of you now judge that compared to your transcript. And this may be your target or it may not. See, the judges are the only people in ARV wearing their judging hat that see both transcripts. Notice we're talking intellectual now. Now we should. The judging process is 99% intellectual. People argue still to this day that maybe the judges should be totally independent. There are many of us, including a guy called Greg Kay that did self-judging and made $150,000, that believe self-judging works fine because your subconscious knows how to move to the feedback target. And as an independent judge, sometimes you remember things when you're remote viewing that you didn't put down on a piece of paper that might help you. But anyway, self-judging works. Some people don't like it, in which case they don't have to do it. They should find a judge. But for now, you take your transcript and match it right here. And then on your transcript, write OS for the other side, and then CR equal whatever you put. So notice in this situation, since only one of these are going to be your target, and we went out of our way to make the targets as different as possible, I think you admit that the Taj Mahal is quite different from this one. Ideally, if you were on, you would get a low score for one and a higher score for the other. However, as a judge, you right now independently judge them both. So now you're independently judging this and putting OS CR equals on your sheet of paper.
Can you make this photo a little bigger, Marty?
Let's see how I would do that. I know how to do that in Explorer.
Okay, it's not crucial. If it's a hassle, it's no big deal.
Yeah, well, if I could do it easily, I would,
detail.
Dave.
No big deal.
Okay, I don't see any easy way to do it.
What kind of animal do you think is chasing the zebra?
Well, again, you know, if it's an orange or a tangerine, I'd give you good credit. But it looks to me like it's a female lion. On a grassy field, chasing a striped zebra. Very interesting. Okay. Have you done it? Do you need more time? Let me know. Okay, so you've made your judgments. So where am I here? I am now, oh, that's something entirely different. Let me get rid of that. Well, let's just get rid of it this way. Okay. So we've done this. Now here's where we want to be. Okay, so you're all comfortable with what you did. So let's go now and let's put the CRs down, and then we can all take a look. Notice in the ideal situation, and this is, well, let's put the numbers down. Let's put the numbers down, and we'll see what we say. And by going through the logic, I think you will really kind of get it. Okay, so who is, I don't have your email addresses. I only have your names. So is King Aries here?
Yeah, Marty, that's me. That's Kevin.
Okay. What was your CR?
I got 4.
Okay. There we go. So you alone, forgetting everybody, and don't anybody change now. You've done your judging. Now you're just doing your reporting. But what I want to say to Kevin, based on Kevin getting a 4, he would say that 470 was associated with under. So he right now knows that his transcript is supporting under. Well, let's see what everybody else does. It's rare to have it be uniform.
Marty's background is killing me, Marty.
Okay, God, who?
I hear you.
Let me see. I think that might have been Ron again. Yeah, okay. Who is this? Is that anybody here?
This is me. I'm Daniela.
Okay, good, good. What did you get for a CR here?
For the winning 0.
A nice 0, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Marty.
Yeah.
Marty, this is Gary Sheridan. Can I interrupt out of sequence here for a second? I'm down there. I'm down there about. I'm down there. Go for it, Gary.
Is that you?
Yes, I have to interrupt because the library. I know the library is not closing.
Okay.
About 10 minutes. My correspondence for the inside, CR0.
The WS was 0?
Yes.
And what was the OS? And I'll go back. I should have gone back and got the others already. And what was the other side?
3.5. A good solid 3.5, maybe even a 4. Call 3.5.
Okay, let's call it 3.5. Yeah, we only allow half points now.
Yeah.
And Kevin, I should have asked you, what was your for the other side?
The other side, I got 0.
Yeah, okay. And
I got 2 on the other side.
got a 2. Okay. Very good. Who else? Who else is here?
I'm Esperel.
Okay, yeah.
For the winning side, I got about a 6.
Okay.
And for the underside, 0.5 maybe.
Okay, I'm going to do what?
And if you have any doubts, I'm ready to cut and paste into the chat exactly what I got, and you'll see how close that was.
Yeah, well, I think that'd be useful for us. If you can cut and paste it and send me an email, then I can share it with everybody.
I just put it in the chat.
No, I don't think the chat will take graphics.
No, I didn't use graphics. I wrote it all in text.
Oh, okay, sure. Go ahead and do that, and they can look at that while I want to get the other people. Okay.
It's there now.
Okay, excellent. But in fact, in many ways, remember, I don't want anybody to change what they did. I don't want your session to influence anybody else's. Okay. So this is this coordinate was.
Maybe everybody can mute themselves if they're not talking. There's too much feedback.
Yeah, who is that again?
I don't know. The old system GoToMeeting used to tell us who was talking.
Right.
You could see the name. This one doesn't
I'm
show
not
it.
seeing it.
Everybody mute themselves.
Okay, well, I'll commute, except I want to make sure we get everybody. Okay, Ron,
Well, yeah.
Ron, okay, Ron, you must have unmuted yourself. Would you
Yeah, I'm here.
give me your coordinates here?
I'm here.
Okay, give me your coordinates.
For the winning side?
Yeah.
For the winning side, I got 1. For the other side, I got 3.
Okay. And there was a lot of noise coming from you before. Okay, you muted yourself. Okay. Somebody else unmute themselves and give me their scores on either side. Yeah.
CF91, that's my email. For the winning side, I got a 2, and for the OS, I got 4.5.
And I'm putting it in the right place. Your CF9183?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
2 and 4.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else now on either side? I was sort of trying to do it orderly, but since everybody's not here, it's a little bit difficult. So somebody, okay, Robert, what is your email?
Robert Fabro, Robert at AOL.com.
Okay, so that ought to be pretty straightforward. There you are. Okay, good. What is yours?
Well, I hope I'm doing this right. The winning side is corresponding with the first
Picture.
photo.
Correct. Correct.
And the OS. Okay, great. For the WS, I got 0.
Okay, and for the other side?
And for the other side, I got a 6.
A 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? And I know there are more people here. Who else? Patricia Flores. Did we do you yet, Pat?
Oh, we did mine already. It's my
okay.
my email.
Right. Okay. How about KP? I'm just going through my list.
That's me, Marty. Kevin.
Okay, we did KP.
I don't know why it came up as KP, but that's
right.
me. You did me already.
James Park.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were your?
I got the winning side.
Okay.
Can I hear you?
Yeah. Okay. And what's your email address?
It's ariran13@gmail.com. It's in the over side.
Oh.
Not from the top. Yeah. You have to go down a little bit more.
Okay. Bar. I just didn't understand what you said. Oh. Here it is. Got it. Got it. Okay. Good. And what number did you get?
4.
4 for the winning side. And what about the other side?
Mm-hmm. I don't get anything, so it's gotta be 0.
Okay. That's fine. That says you're internally, you standing alone, or internally consistent. Okay.
Oh.
And that's what we do. Then we'll compare with everybody. Okay, who else?
I got a 3 for the under, probably a 5 for the over.
Okay.
I'm not on the list, but that's probably.
Oh, you're not on this list. Right. Let me just put you like this, Dave, just to save a little time here.
Sure. No, I wouldn't say 3.5. I'd say 3.
A 3.
Yeah, I got all the right shapes.
3, and what was the other one? Wait, you want me to put
5 probably?
A 3 and a 5.
Yes, sir. A 3 and a 5 on a 3 for the under and a 5 for the over.
No, a 3 for the winning side and a 5 for the other side.
Okay, yeah, I'm not really. I mean,
Dave, that's okay. Stop. You just
really understanding your system.
You judged one transcript against the winning side, right? And that was what you gave a 3, the Taj Mahal. Yes. And then you judged that same transcript against the other one, and you gave that one a 5. That's the other side. Okay, period. Now, anybody else? Who else? Did we miss anybody? Okay, did we really get everybody? It says we've got 12 attendees, minus me is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're missing 2 people.
Come on, Chris, where are you?
Oh, that's right. Chris came in late. He probably didn't do one. So there's only one person who we don't have, and maybe they just didn't want to say anything or can't. You can put it in the chat box. Okay, so nobody. Okay, fair enough. So here we are. Here's what we did. God, we're light on this side. Is there anybody on this one? No.
I don't think I tasked myself properly. I really got a good mix of both.
Okay,
but
Dave, that's
no,
just
okay.
don't. It's okay. The tasking, was set up we set the intention and everything. Okay, so we only have 2 on this side. I'm just trying to see if we missed anybody. DJP they're not here. Okay, let's just look at this side first to now try to begin to interpret it. ARIR, I'm sorry, I don't remember the names associated with the emails. I guess I can get Robert. But this one basically says he believes over, since this is it, this is side 2, that over is the one he would predict. If he was standing alone, he said, I would wager on the over side because he's saying that is the winning side, right? The first one was the winning side. Here, what we have is a 0. So, it was weak for the other side, which in this case would have been under. But notice we have something which we see too often. We have the opposite case here. We have a 0 for Robert on over for the winning side, right? So if he was standing alone and this is all he saw, he would say, oh my, I got a really good match with the other side to over, which is under. So let's even do it here. And I want to make sure this is clear to you. He would be predicting under. And this is over. Do you get that? If you don't get that, raise your hand. But the winning side.
I don't get party.
What's that?
I don't get that part.
Okay. Who said that? And it's okay.
Because I predict I'm on the underside, but this guy right here is going to be doing the over.
Right.
The 13 guy.
What I'm saying is standing alone. If this is all you knew, remember, we're now wearing a group judging hat. So you took off your individual group hat, which is what you did first. And now we're sitting here as a group, and I'm willing to put in a wager on this, okay? Real money. We're going to go to bookmaker.eu if I think we have a consensus in one direction or the other. Because for one thing, we have to find out what the line is. So that's the next thing in order, is to do group judging. So I'm sitting here and you're all sitting here as group judges, and you're saying here, when he judged against the winning side, which was associated with over, okay, he got a 4. So he got a good comparison with the Taj Mahal as a 4. The only way you're going to get feedback for the Taj Mahal is if it's the winning side. And you're saying, I believe the winning side is going to be over with the Taj Mahal. On the other hand, look down here. Got a 0 when he compared it to the Taj Mahal. Got a 6 for the lion and the zebra. So he got a good match with what's called the other side. Well, what's the other side to over? The other side to over is under. So if the winning side is under, then he's going to see the zebras. Because we associated 470670 with under. That was the coordinate that got associated with under. Which is the other side. Now wait a second. Yeah. Over. Yeah, I mean, these are going in opposite directions, right? I almost don't even like to explain it. I don't like to explain it.
Okay, so you say, so basically, since me, King Aries,
You
since
see,
I got the 4, the 0, I would be doing...
It looks really even.
You're looking at the rest of them, but I just want to make sure you kind of get the explanation, because at feedback time, each of these numbers are going to get only one picture. Now he's 698406. Under is going to see if under happens, these people will see the under picture as the winning side. These people would then see the other picture as the winning side, which is the tiger. Okay. So you would see the tiger if it go, and you would be right. On the other hand, if it goes the other way, and he'll won't get a match, and he'll look at his and he say, "Oh, I didn't do a good match. One of you are going to do a good match, the others aren't," and we see that. Okay. And you both have something to learn. We won't know which one until Monday. Okay, so let's just do, I mean, and maybe that's what confuses people, is that you can be going in opposite directions as an individual. One of you two are going to get a hit, one of you two are going to get a miss. Okay, now let's look at it over here, and we'll do the same sort of thing. Here, when we look at the winning side picture, whatever that is, we happen to know that's associated with under for this coordinate. This person is predicting under, right? Because they got a 4. This, since wagerable is a 3.5, is a pass, and there's nothing wrong with passes, folks. Nobody is on all the time, even Joe McMonagle. This is a pass too. Sometimes people will use the words leaning towards, but I don't know. In my experience, I keep it as a pass. Now, what is this one? This is a test. What should I put here?
You would take the 0.5.
Right, but do I put over or under here?
It looks like a pass because it differentiates.
It's going to be over.
Right, because when it was compared against the winning side, got a low score. When compared against what we're calling the other side, which is the one that doesn't actually happen as a winner, but it happened as the other side. And we have a photo associated with that, and it's a 4.5. So he's predicting over, and he will get that picture if over turns out to be what happens. Okay, for that coordinate. Okay, now let's, Steve, you're very clear, right? You got a really good match here. And so you are under. Oops. Not that I can't just do it that way, but okay. And this one then is over. Should have left a little more room here. And then Dave, you are over. Okay. So if over occurs, you will see, in fact, everybody, if over occurs, will, well, no, for this coordinate. So now let's count up what we have here. We have 1 under, 2 unders, 2 overs. So that's, did I count right? Check my counting here. But it looks like I have 2 under, 2 over. You agree?
3 overs. 3 overs.
1 under. 3 over. Okay. I missed one there because it wasn't lined up quite right. 1 over, 2 over, 3 overs. And the overs 5, 4.5. So you can also look at the strength now. I'm acting as a judge. And here we have 1 and 1. Okay, 1 over and 1 under. But you see the under is pretty darn strong. But we have a 5 over here. If we total them all up, we get 3 versus 4. This is a tough one, folks. Now, of course, we're in a learning environment here, so let me. So total, we have 3 under and 4 over. Boy, that's pretty skinny. Pretty skinny to go with the over. But one way of being a group judge is to do just what I said, is to do this, is just to count them. There's another way, which is averaging the CRs. And we got a 6 here, but this is a 5 and a 4.5, which is pretty high. So I'm going to put in a nominal over wager and show you how to do that. But you understand, on Monday, we'll show this again, and when you get your feedback, I think it'll become clear, because I'm going to have the 470, 670s look at one picture, the 698406 look at another picture. Each of you will only look at your feedback picture. At feedback time, you do not look at the other picture for your coordinate. Okay? So it's clear here that some of you are going to get hits and feel really good, and others of you are going to get what are called misses. You won't feel as good, but you know what? You should still be amazed at the process. I think you'll learn something, and then you may or may not want to do more. There's only one pass in here. That person will also learn something, leaning in one direction. Questions, comments? Okay. So we're almost at the 2 hours. Let's do now.
Even if it's not conclusive.
No, it's not. Hey, that happens. Lots of our groups pass. In fact, I think sometimes we don't pass enough. But notice individuals can go any way they want, separate from passes. Okay, so the next question is, what's the game? What's the line? May 16th is tomorrow. I've already looked this up, but I want to show you how you do that. Maybe I better go to Google since I'm having trouble. Well, let me just see. Just because I had that open, it might be okay. Yeah, so here's Bookmaker. Let me see if it'll open here. Okay. So it's bookmaker.eu. There are a lot of them. This is a good one. It's got all kinds of sports. You could look under baseball. We wanted Major League Baseball because that's what we said we were going to do. And here's a list of all the Major League Baseball games that are still open. Now this is today, but we said we'd do the first Saturday morning game. And here it is. Here's the National League. The American League starts a little later. So this is the game here. And, oh, see it changed. Now this is one of the things I wanted to show you. And we said we would do this right after we did the judging, which we just finished. So this is saying over is even odds, which means if I were to put up $10, then I would get $10 back plus my original $10. So that's what the even means. The minus 120 says if I put up $12, I will get $10 back. So if I put up $120, okay, for the under, the down arrow, and it even came up and said that, I will get $10 back. Usually they're near 50-50 like this, though it looks like for some reason in the baseball right now, the way they're doing it, but this one would be even, okay? So you could put up $11 and get 10 down back, plus your original always, of course, 110, you would get your 100 back. So which direction did we go roughly? I mean, it was really marginal, but let me just remember. It's over. Okay. Though really, you know, this goes into our records, and I have to tell you, I'm going to pass. You know, this goes into the record for the webinar group, and I'd like to keep our records as high as possible. So I'm going to call this a pass, and I think you understand why. If people were individually doing this, I can see, you know, what I'm looking at here is we've got 2 6s which are under, which is pretty strong, and yet the other way of looking at it is over. And when you get this confused and it's not clear, I think it's best to pass. So what I'm going to do is pass. So this is a group pass. But what you always record is the line. And then I'm going to show you how you do that online. So the group pass, it's a line equals 7.5. So the baseball game itself will determine the over and under, and then we will know the winning side. Okay, so if it's over, then this will be the winning side. If it's under, this will be the winning side. Okay, and I want to save that. And so I'm not going to do any bet at all. We just got the information from there which is fine. And now I want to go back here. As a user of this system, what you would now do, and let me just, well, I can leave it like this. What you now do is put in the rankings, and it's kind of a tough one because of this. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if we can look at both of these at the same time, but since it's a pass, it doesn't matter too much. Okay. So what I've done, can you see my snipping tool here? Can you guys see the snipping tool?
We did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And let me see if I can get it back on here. The last step here now is to put in a confidence ranking. If you were doing this on your own, let me just, okay, so let me get this over here. I'm trying to get us so we can see them both. Okay, so I think we don't quite see all of this one. There we go. So if Dave was doing this on his own, it's amazing how hard it is to navigate this in real time. Okay, if Dave was doing this on his own.
If I was doing it on my own, I would have a really hard time.
Well, but your coordinate your coordinate was 470670, correct? So yours was the 4 coordinate. So under 470600, you would put, you know, you're a reasonably bright guy, Dave. You would put 3 because that's what you had there.
I know, counting the 3 is kind of hard though. All right.
Well, and here I think you can count to 5. So under 470670, which is your transcript, you would put in a 3, and here you'd put in a 5.
Yeah. Okay. I've been doing it a long time, but not this particular protocol.
I understand,
so you know that.
and I also
okay.
understand.
So if I'm not completely understanding, I'm not sure if everybody else is understanding.
Well, they should understand how to put in the numbers.
You can understand that, but I wasn't sure how to task myself with this protocol.
Describe and sketch your feedback photo.
Okay.
Describe and sketch your feedback photo for that coordinate. Period. It's what you.
Now, since he doesn't have any transcript for
Nancy, your voice.
You know, some of these newbies here, as you could tell, there are some people that have been around for a while here as well.
So 698406, if we were putting in Dave's numbers, would be 0 and 0.
Well, he didn't have that transcript. So let's say we partner, like I'm doing this with some people where each of them do a separate transcript. So let's say Dave was partnered with Robert, okay, because Robert has got the other transcript. Robert would then put in here 0 and a 6. Because he said he thought the winning side for his coordinate, he got 0. And here he got a 6.
Okay, Marty, this is, I want to make sure I did it right. This is what I did. I took the coordinates you gave me, the 4, 7, blah, blah, blah. I wrote it on my page, and I said, show me the winning feedback photo site for this. And
okay,
you know, but now
you're
yeah. That's right? That part's right or no?
Not quite.
Okay.
Because you added the word winning. Describe and sketch your 470670 feedback photo.
Okay, I did do that.
Yeah.
I did do that.
Don't say
I did
winning.
do that. But I'm confused because I wrote on there 4-7 blah blah blah.
Right.
When okay, but one of these relates to 4-7 something something. The other one relates to 6-9 blah
Why
blah
do you care
blah.
about that? That only mattered to you when you were judging. As a viewer, you're only going to get one feedback target for that coordinate. As always, that's standard. This is standard ARV.
Right. Well, it's not standard of the two coordinates.
Exactly, and that's because we want to use consensus. So we have people do 2. Now, some people don't like doing 2. Fine, do something else. But there are a lot of people that like doing 2. It gives them 2 chances to get a good match. But if you don't use this technique. I mean, hey, we have free will. But the idea of doing 2 is that it gives you a consensus. So a lot of people like to do 2, but each one of them is a standard ARV approach. Describe and sketch your 470, 670 feedback target. But now in this, okay, so in this case, if I were to average these roughly, I would get 8, 9, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess somebody can do the arithmetic, but it might be, actually it looks like it might be a little under, but I should maybe only average the ones that are good, like a 6, 2, and a 4. And you see different judges do things differently. I never average. And as a group judge, you never use this. This is only for individuals. So that's why this is maybe a little awkward. But I'm looking at this and I see these coordinates, 6, 2, 4. The 6 is pretty high. I'm going to make this like a 5, you know, with a 6 and a 4. Yeah, but the 2 and the 1, you see, the 2 and the 1, say those people thought it was something else. So we're just going to have to make it a 4. And over here we have a 4.5 and a 3.5. Yeah, you can, well, and here's a 5. So maybe this one and a 2 and a 3, but there's a 0. You can see why we passed. You know, I mean, I think we legitimately passed. This might be a 4 too. And so we're getting a wash. Now here, at least the numbers to put in, a 4 and a 0. Do I put a 2? And a 0 and a 6. Do I put a 3? Not knowing anything. My actual inclination, though, I will tell you frankly, is to do this, is to put the 6 and the 4. In other words, assume that this might have been an overestimate, but you know, it's not clear what the right thing to do is here. And that's why what we did is pass. Okay, so I'm going to put that in for the record. And then down here, we get to put in a personal one, but the computer will take this and it'll make a decision of its own. And here we're going to say, I get to put words in. Now, one of the nice parts about all of this is, again, as an individual, your words would stay, and you would get access to them later as part of this system. So this is a webinar group pass, and then I submit it. And there, because of this slightly higher 5 here, it says it's leaning towards side 1. That doesn't mean there's a wager or anything. But notice the personal one was a pass, which is what we did. Okay, so what we just did was completed the ARV prediction for the group, and it turned out to be a pass. However, very important to understand that Monday, each person will get their feedback, and each person will have an opportunity to learn something. And I really urge all of you to um, come back on Monday, because as I've said over and over again, the feedback is where the precognitive information and sharing should happen, and that's the skill that can and should be learned. And what we have here are journeys. You know, this is kind of a hackneyed expression, but some of you are going to get misses, some of you are going to get hits for what is this very short-term journey. This is one prediction. We need to enjoy the journey. This idea of feeling this love, wisdom, beauty, and joy in the process is real. And you can do that whether you got a hit or a miss, because you're looking at your consciousness. Here is the kind of data we keep. And this data helps, and this is a good example of that, helps people improve, because I have noticed and very strongly believe that other things going on in your life influence what's going on here. In addition, you just simply learn and get better at this by being clearer on your tasking. I mean, the fact that Dave was uncertain whether he tasked it right or not shows he didn't task it right or not, because there's some noise there. And as you do more and more of these, you get clearer on that, etc. But this is the kind of data we show. This is for a person that's done, almost 100 predictions using we. The red curve is a raw cumulative curve where we have the hit rate on the left. The hit rate is the number of hits divided by the sum of the number of hits plus misses, passes being ignored. Okay? So we ignore the passes. You can tell passes by the flat areas here. So those are passes right there. Here's a bunch of passes here. There was a pass there. In the first 10, there was a mix of misses and passes. The first time this person got a hit went up to 60%. So we can probably figure out exactly how many misses they had or whatever, but there's more than one combination, I guess, that'll get you 60%. But that's what that says. The red curve is the cumulative. So by the time they got out here at 96 or something like that, they have a cumulative of, let's call it 57%, something like that. And that means 57% of the time there were hits, 43% of the time there were misses. So hits divided by hits plus misses, rather standard. The blue curve is a short term. I mean, remember, you just done one prediction, and you will get a hit or miss based on which side you were on and whether it goes over and under. But this person here, what we do is keep the last 10 actual wagerable trades. So again, we ignore the passes. And so up here, the last 10 wagerables were actually at 100%. So she got 100% there. Notice started out at 50%, went as low as 30%, somehow was able to improve, got up to 100%, and now the curve's going down. This is a history. It's like a fingerprint. The green curve is a 25-day moving average. So we keep records on that. And this is what I would call the intermediate history. So the intermediate hit rate. And notice this one, it's leveling off at 70%. Very nicely. All of us would be very happy if it stayed like this and just oscillated around here. we'll have to wait and see. But this is the kind of records you get to keep. Was there something different going on here versus here? And the answer may be no. And you know what? This person may conclude that and may just keep doing exactly what they're doing and stay up here at 50% for the 25-day moving average. That's how you get the long-term one, by watching how the green goes over long terms, however you define long term. Okay. We're also doing, because all this stuff is in the computer, here's another person, relatively new, 11 sessions. I'm doing some programming now in R and having a lot of fun with that. This ignores passes, but shows just the cumulative hit rate here. But it also shows something. You notice how you put in 2 CRs? You can use those 2 CRs to come up with something which is like a variable on a normal distribution curve. And I don't want to say anything else. Some of you understand normal distribution, some of you don't. But what it's showing is that I can put the hit rate based on a variable, which is another level of detail that we get out of the judging. And I mean, that's very exciting. If a curve like this indeed were to hold for the very long term, and the person you saw before, it doesn't hold as nicely as this, but it's showing a trend. But I think for different people, we'll see different trends. It's going to be very individualized, but we're keeping that kind of data. And that's my point. Having everything online allows you to keep data. You get to share it with the individual, so they get to learn from it. But also, as a physicist, I get to look at it and try to learn things about precognition. So that's what this is all about, is both of us getting better at precognition in both the doing and appreciating it. Monday, we're having the feedback webinar. I hope you're all coming to that. And I guess I'll leave us with this. I really believe that this precognition is such a beautiful opportunity to learn about yourself, and it is fun. I think if it ever stops becoming fun, and you don't feel, I don't know, the energy of it. And I know a lot of people who've gone through long missing streaks, but they still felt the energy of it because they saw it as a strategy. So it really has very little to do with how well you're doing. It has to do with sort of your attachment to wanting to understand about your subconscious. But if it gets to the point where you're not enjoying it, you should leave. I mean, you know, you do have free will. And during the process, you're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but take the chances. You know, do this where you know there may be some risk involved, like you may have to psychologically handle a miss or 2 or 3 in a row. You know, that's taking a chance psychologically. But enjoy.
Hello?
Be silly. Be imperfect. Trust yourself and follow your heart. And you're not going to get anywhere until you begin trusting yourself. I think that's, and by yourself, I mean your subconscious and conscious self. And that's about what I have to say. Do feel this love, wisdom, beauty, joy. And I do really thank all of you for coming here, because I'm still having a good time and I couldn't unless you were here. So with that, I will stop at this end. Do you have any questions? Anything else you would like to share?
I think there are some questions in the chat box.
Okay.
Steve?
Can you, let's see. I can't break out the chat box and make it any bigger, so maybe.
Steve Steve Barrell asks, to what extent does it matter that a number of the participants are inexperienced RVers?
In terms of the group judging that we do, I take that into account because I have, I have the history. That's what's nice about this, and it affects things. But when you're doing a webinar like this, sometimes you still get a stronger consensus than we got here. There's this thing called beginner's luck, and sometimes it's at play. And so when we get a consensus, we can make a strong prediction. This time it was a pass, and maybe that's just right. There's nothing wrong with passes. Any other questions in there?
Yes, Patricia Flores asks, shall we send our RV results right after the session is over?
If you use this protocol, you need to do it by the deadline. So the group, we always have group managers, so the group manager can look at it. So then you do it either right after or shortly after. I think people should take somewhat of a break because they need to switch from their remote viewing mindset to a judging mindset. Because remember, once you upload the transcripts, you then get to see your first winning side photo, and you then start doing your judging. And I just recommend that there's a break between the last remote viewing session you do and when you start judging. Notice we started talking about a bunch of stuff and got back into the intellectual. You're welcome. I did see that chat. Any earlier chats, Nancy? Good. Keep going.
Here's one more from Steve, and this was about, I don't know, maybe a half an hour ago. It says, I know absolutely nothing about betting on sports, over, under, spread, but it doesn't matter as an RVer if I'm not the one moving the money, I suppose.
Right on. Exactly on. Plus, we have a lot of people that never wager, are very happy just to do the remote viewing and get their feedback because it improves them. They think it improves their remote viewing, which they may very well be doing in other places. Because the kind of feedback you get here, the whole thing turns around generally in a week. Here we're turning this around in just a few days. And that is actually typical. The tasking goes out 5 days typically before the feedback comes. So some people will do it, wait a day or two, and so then they get their feedback just 2 or 3 days after they turn in their session. And they enjoy that process. But so the wagering is an entirely separate phase, which is independent of the ARV. You're right on. Maybe I'll use this as the opportunity to plug our upcoming workshop in New Orleans at the end of June. It's going to be a place where you can or cannot wager, but there we're going to be doing financials, and I'm just putting in our website. But the beautiful part about that is we have the top people in the field giving talks. First of all, Joe McMonagle is there teaching this in his fashion for the first day, which is optional. If you have some experience, you don't have to do the first day. But then the other 3 days, he's there. We have Dean Radin giving a webinar, so he won't be there, but he'll be giving a webinar, which you'll get to see, of course. And we have Ed May, who's done a great deal of scientific work on this. And he's got a model which he said, even in his title, he's going to discuss in plain English. And then there is Joe Gallenberger, who does a Vegas workshop. So there's an opportunity to just continue this for anybody who's interested. Was there anything else in the chat box?
Just goodbyes and thank yous.
Okay. Well, again, I thank all of you. And let's end this now and keep recogging.
Thank you, Marty.
Bye, Nance.
Goodbye. Thanks, Marty.
Take care.
Bye, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nancy. Good night, John boy.